Good morning and welcome to my blog, Wisdom for Today. So today is that day that a lot of us buy extra candy to give out to little kids who come to our door and say trick or treat. I don't want to use the term holiday because holiday is taken from a term that means holy day, and I don't consider this day particularly holy. And Christians have conflicted attitudes about Halloween, which is taken from a term that means Hallows Eve. So let's talk about the history of it and what would be our Christian response to this season. Well, yes, it's true that Halloween came from a celebration called the Samhain, and that originated in Ireland when people would build great bonfires to scare off ghosts, and dress up in costumes to scare off ghosts. But after Christianity came to Ireland, it wasn't taken so seriously anymore. It became kind of a festival where people would dress up in costumes of people of the past and have these great bonfires. But the church was never too happy with it because it had a close alignment with the occult. And so in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III considered a day that he called All Saints' Day. Now this way we'd celebrate the dead, but we'd celebrate saints, actually Christian martyrs who had died for their faith, and contemplate the agony they went through. But instead of that being a day that replaced the pagan holiday, it incorporated some of the pagan holidays' traditions. Bonfires still existed. People dressed up like saints, but instead of talking about their good works or their profession for Christ, they talked about how they died torturous death. And ghosts and monsters came back because you had decapitated saints and saints who had been put on the rack, and gruesome stories came out of that as well. Around 1567, the Protestant Church, who also wanted to compete with not only All Saints' Day but Halloween, developed a day that they called, believe it or not, Reformation Day. And that took place on October 31st because in 1517, Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the door. And so the idea was to celebrate not particular saints who died, because Protestants believe everyone who professes Jesus is a saint, but to celebrate the confessions of the faith. And none of these traditions really competed with the idea of people building bonfires and dressing up like the dead. And it wasn't until in the United States in the early part of the 20th century that good old capitalism did its best to buy into this tradition. And because there was all the vandalism and there were bonfires, what happened is Hollywood got involved, and they had movies where children would go house to house and they would give them candy not to vandalize their homes. And the candy market saw this as a great deal to capitalize on their candy. And as a result, we have the celebration we have today. Now, how are we as Christians to respond to this day? Well, first of all, I don't like to emphasize Satan, and I know a lot of Christians do. I think its origin more has to do with ghosts and less has to do with Satan. And I like to emphasize Jesus, not Satan. My Bible says in 1 John 4:1-2 that this is how we can recognize the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God and is born of God. In other words, we profess Jesus by confessing him, not by putting emphasis on the dark, but on the light, who is Jesus Christ. But at the same time, I genuinely believe, as Ephesians 6:12 tells us, that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers and principalities, against powers of the dark world, and against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So yes, I do believe in demons. But the kids who come to the door are usually dressed up like superheroes in cartoons. And for me, it's a chance to make friends with my neighbors. My fear is we as Christians have isolated ourselves from the world. And we wonder why people have stopped going to church. That's because we stopped becoming involved in the community. Most of us don't know our neighbors. We sent our kids to Christian schools or we homeschooled. And so we're not a part of the public discard of the public school. Or if we are, we're prescribing what the public school should be teaching. We're not sitting down with a kindergarten teacher and asking her, how can we help? or getting to know other parents in our children's classroom. Can I challenge you as a Christian that you take this time to get to know your neighbors? This is a time where you can sit out in your front yard and you don't have to hide behind your door because there's lots of kids out there. And you can give out candy and learn people's names and talk to people. Talk to the parents as well. And let them know that you're here. You know, this gospel is preached in word and in deed. And we think of word as the preaching on Sunday morning, and we think of deed as the deeds we do through missions. But those are the big words and the big deeds. It's also preached through the words of Christian witness with your neighbors. It's preached through Christian witness through relationships and deeds of kindness. So I'm going to encourage you not to boycott Halloween. Yes, be mindful of its history. I don't believe in ghosts, but I don't think anyone's really warning off ghosts that come to my door. And I don't emphasize evil. And I'm aware of vandalism, but instead I'm going to use it as a time to get to know other people. Because I want to tell people about Jesus Christ and his saving love for us. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful day. God's blessings to you.